Back to the Knicks collapse. This is Kevin Harlan with the call with the Tyrese Haliburton shot that we thought was the game winner that just tied the game.
Indiana with it. Haliburton. He'll take it. He'll backpedal a three for the win. And goal! He got it!
It was only a 2. And he did the choke sign. Reggie Miller's in the building. And keep in mind, when Reggie hit his shots, and that was 1994, did the choke sign to Spike Lee, Pacers lost that series. It would have been really embarrassing if you do a choke sign and you tie the game, you go into overtime, and then you don't win. But it did feel like the momentum was there. It felt like the Pacers' depth had worn the Knicks down. You know, Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns were great. Brunson certainly with the scoring. But, you know, you're throwing 5 different defenders at Jalen Brunson. And it just felt like when you needed him, he couldn't come up big. Put you in that position to win the game, and Karl Anthony Towns. But Tyrese Haliburton had 31. Aaron Nesmith had 30. This will be the Aaron Nesmith game. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, We'll talk about Tyrese Haliburton's shot and the choke sign, but you're going to remember Aaron Nesmith because this is really a defensive-minded guy. I mean, he's counted on to play defense, and when you're hitting 5 3-pointers, I mean, that's not expected from him. He hit 6 3-pointers in the fourth quarter, tying the NBA record for most 3-pointers in a quarter. Last person to do it, Steph Curry. You expect that to happen. But, you know, the Knicks, they were up by 17. They choked. They did. Here's Tyrese Haliburton after the game.
I've seen that winning time doc probably like 50 times growing up. So I know that they didn't win the series. So I would not like to repeat that. But you know, I think that's just a historic moment, and that was obviously more him versus Spike, kind of the one-on-one, and that just felt like it was to everybody, but to him too. I wanted him to see it more than anything. But I think it's just really cool to continue to make my own history, and this group to make our own history, while also showing respect and love to the ones who came before us. So definitely a special moment, and something I won't forget.
Tyrese Haliburton's having a hell of a month. Playoff boost. Voted the most overrated player by fellow players. Nobody's saying that anymore. And there are certain athletes, regular season, good, postseason, better. Jimmy Butler, Reggie Miller, just to name a few. Good regular season, all of a sudden, they're attracted to the spotlight. They don't shy away from the spotlight. And Tyrese Haliburton, that's a wonderful performance, and you do it in the Garden. I mean, that's where legends are made. When you think about Reggie's career, if Reggie doesn't have his moments against the Knicks, you could probably make a case maybe in the Hall of Very Good, one of the greatest shooters of all time. But to have that, I mean, those are moments that they stay with. They're indelible marks for your career when you have a moment at the Garden. And Tyrese Haliburton certainly had one as well. 877-3DP Show. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Good morning if you're watching on Peacock. That's our streaming partner. Thank you for downloading the app. And our radio affiliates around the country, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio. Seton poll question, hour 1. What are you thinking?
Well, we got a couple of them for you. Right. We got one here from Marvin, just based off recent events. Greatest Warrior ever, Steph Curry, Wilt Chamberlain, Rick Barry, or Dylan Grady, based on him chopping his finger off and being at work today.
All right. Yeah, Dylan, #Warrior. Yeah, there's blood all over the place here. And I'm like, oh, my, it looked like a crime scene. I'm like, this doesn't bode well for Meat Thursday, by the way.
Yeah, it's certainly less appetizing.
Yes, I know.
Gotta admit.
Yeah. I'm going to be looking at my lobster roll a little closer.
Yeah.
What other?
Anywho, the choke symbol last night was awesome or awesome but a mistake?
I think if you ask him if he would like to have that back, he probably would say yes.
You think so?
Yeah, because it wasn't the game winner, and you don't want history repeating itself because the Pacers, when Reggie did it, didn't win that series. It's a great moment, and you're going to be on the cover of the newspapers in New York, front page, probably side by side with Reggie with the choke sign. But I don't know. Marvin, what do you think? Is that something that Tyrese Haliburton's going to go, you know what, on second thought?
No, I loved it because you know what? The Knicks earned that choke sign. If there was any time to use it, it was right there because that's one of the biggest choke jobs I've ever seen.
But if you don't win in overtime, then it looks silly. Because yes, it was a choke job, but then you don't want to choke after giving the choke sign, and then the Knicks come back and win it.
Right, that video of him doing the choke sign could have easily paired with him walking into the tunnel with his head down after losing in overtime.
Yes.
Very easily
Yes.
that could have happened.
Yes, Todd.
You roll the dice and do the choke sign. Reggie's calling the game. It's at the Garden. Pacers. And in the moment, he thought he won the game until they checked it out and called it a 2 for overtime. He thought that was a game-winning shot. That was a winning 3.
And it wasn't a good shot.
Terrible. It was awful.
Like you're going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then all of a sudden, that's one of those, no, yes.
That was crazy, dude. That was a crazy shot.
Oh, my God.
That was a crazy shot.
Yes. I don't know if that was the design on the play. I don't know if Rick Carlisle said, hey, that's what we wanted, or it was, I don't know, just try to get a shot off here. And you needed a 2. That's the thing that I didn't understand. If you were going, you didn't need a 2. But, 2 sends you into overtime, a 3 wins it. But then get to the 3-point line.
And he saw glory. He saw glory right there. He was like, glory is right behind that line right there. Let me try to get there.
But I do love that because you're taught on the road, go for the win. You don't want to tie and go into overtime. But you also want to make sure you get a good shot to win it, as opposed to, I'm not going to take the 2, might be a better shot. I'm going to go for the jugular here, the throat, which is exactly what he was trying to do. Yes, Marvin.
But that scenario just showed me that dude is a basketball killer. Like, no, I don't want to tie this game.
Yeah.
I want to do it in New York, shut the entire Garden up. The Garden was silent.
Man, oh,
you
man.
could hear a pin drop in there because they were, defense. Nope. And I'm going to back up on Mitchell Robinson, who's a 7-footer.
I know.
I'm going to back up on you.
And Karl Anthony Towns played really well, but he plays well against the Pacers. And, Brunson, he's going to give you 43. But I just felt like he was tiring. And rightfully so, because of how he plays. But they kept sending different bodies at him. And that's what I said when this started. And we tend to overreact after game 1. We always do. Game 1, to me, is the less impactful or the most important outcome of all the games in a series. Because how many times do you have something happen in game 1 and you just forget about it? Because there'll be a bigger game in game 5 or 6 or 7. Now, this is one of those where, like Minnesota got blown out against OKC. They can wipe away game 1. Like, okay, OKC was just better. This one felt like 1.5 losses. If I'm a Knicks fan, you kind of go into the Garden differently. And I bring this up from experience. Well, obviously all the NBA that I've covered over the years, but to be at Yankee Stadium when the Yankees lost the 0-4 game, they lost 1 game to the Red Sox. Now all of a sudden there's just a little bit of doubt. And then you could see this, like it's tangible, where you could feel like the Yankees were feeling like, oh, man, I don't know. And then all of a sudden you got to game 6, and then all of a sudden you go to game 7, and then you're almost resigned to the fact of we're losing. We're going to lose this. Yeah, Seton.
That Yankees Red Sox series, which I've mostly blacked out. I don't really have any memory of that time whatsoever. But it was like, as a Yankee fan, you started out being like, no, we're good. We got this series. We're going to roll right through. And then by the end of it, you were so unsure, similar to how the sports semis went 2 nights ago, where before I was like, hell yeah, dude, we're winning. And right before we got there, I was like, I don't think we're going to do it. That was basically you get to game 7 in that series, you're crying. We can't win now.
Teams leading by at least 14 points in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter were 994-0 since play-by-play began in 1997. 994-0. We can't lose this. It's impossible. It's not impossible. You're saying they had a chance and they took advantage of it. Golly. I keep saying this, it feels like more often than ever, just when you think you've seen it all. You haven't.